All right, everybody, good afternoon. Today is Wednesday, the 7th of January, and we have our first Team Ignite weekly training. And we're kicking off the new year talking about contacts and referrals. So this is a core skill, gathering prospects and, maintaining your contact list, something that's super important, especially for those of you that are new or those of you that are trying to restart your business. So I am recording this webinar, and I'm going to put it out there for us to be able to use over and over again for new folks. And if you have some folks on your team that are just starting to restart their business, this will be a good place for them to go to. So it's going to be me, and I have Andrea Beauman on the line. Say hi, Andrea.
Hello.
All right, I know you're on mute, and I keep making you unmute and mute again. Sorry about that. But all right, I'm going to start off talking about, like I said, gathering prospects and getting your contact list together. It really is a core skill in any type of sales business, but especially in multi-level marketing and direct sales. So this has to be something that you really, really have to hone your skill and teach your team how to do it too. So many of the things that are in this PowerPoint, I've taken from the GoPro Eric Worre book. Some of it has just experience over the years, but there's quite a few tips in here from Eric Worre's book, which I highly recommend. It's a great book to teach you how to, just get your business up to the next level. So the first thing is that you have to capture your network on paper. That is, it's like such, the most important asset you have in your business is your contact list. And a lot of us have our cell phones with people's phone numbers on them, or you have your email addresses or something electronic. And just like our photos, for those of us that came from the scrapbook world, it's great to have everything electronic, but when your hard drive crashes, when your cloud backup doesn't work on your phone and you lose your contact list, or when something just goes corrupt on your computer, if you don't have that stuff somewhere on a piece of paper, you are really, really out of luck. So every once in a while, go into your email, go into your contact list if you have it in Excel or whatever you're storing in it, and just print it out so you have a paper copy, because I can't even tell you how many times over the 15 years that I've been doing this that I've lost a computer hard drive, or my phone got erased, or something happened and I had to start from scratch again. So I absolutely, every 3 or 4 months, I reprint my contact list so that I have a piece of paper with all that on it. The other thing is, when you're first starting out, it's kind of a nice way to jog your memory by taking out the old pen and paper and just writing it down on a piece of paper. So for the first couple of years of my business, I had a journal, and I thought about going back to that this year, and I might still do that. I do think it was a great idea, and I want to pass it on to you. This was just something that I did, where instead of just having a list on a piece of paper of a bunch of names and phone numbers and email addresses, I took one of those journals, like a really cheap one. You can actually just go buy a notebook if you don't want it to be, a fancy one. And I would write down somebody's name, and I numbered it, and start whenever. And you number it, and then I would leave 5 or 6 spaces underneath that person's name, write the next person's name. And I kept that thing with me all the time, wherever I went. And I had a really hard time when I first started out in direct sales to pick up the phone and call people, or to walk right up to them and make an offer or share an opportunity. So I had to think of ways to weave it into conversations. That was one of the things that I really, really developed over time, was how I could weave conversations into them asking me about the business. So what I would do with this contact list is I would put people's names on it, and it would be anybody that I bumped into throughout the day, throughout the week. They'd pop into my head, and I'd go into my purse, I'd grab out my journal and flip to the next page. Okay, number 23, I just remembered this person's name. And it didn't mean that I was going to talk to that person today or this week or even in the next couple weeks, but their name was out of my head and into that book, so I had it listed there. And then every single day I would flip through the pages of that book, and I would pick somebody that I hadn't talked to in a while, and I would find some reason to talk to them, whether it was, oh my gosh, it's your birthday and I just remembered, and it sparked a conversation around, what are you doing? And, oh, I have this new business. Or it might have been, just I bumped into that person and I knew they were in that contact list, and it reminded me, okay, this is somebody I've never talked to about my business before. So capturing that contact list on a piece of paper is just so, so important. I can't stress that enough. And again, it needs to be something that's a core skill that you get into your repertoire And finding new people to put on that list is going to be something that you need to develop as well. So it isn't just stagnant, who you know is who you know, and that's everybody on the list. One of the skills that you are going to develop over time in this business, and we're going to help you do that, is to find new people that you're going to continually add to that list. So it's a live, living list that's going to always be growing and growing and growing. And one of the fun things that I did over time in that list is as that person bought products, I would highlight, something on there to say like, oh, they've become a customer. And as those people joined my team, I would highlight it in a different color to say, oh, they joined my team. And I would put the date down so then I could go back and, a couple of years later, flip through and go, wow, look at how many yellow highlights are in here for people that eventually either purchased something or became a customer. And look at how many people, joined my team, and look at all the blue highlights in here. So it's just a fun way to kind of go back and see the progress that you've made over time, because sometimes you might not think that you're making progress, but if you look over it a long period of time, then you start to realize, just what an impact you are making. And this is super important, this last bullet point on here, is remember that when you make friends, you develop a connection with them, and when the time's right, you help them understand what we have to offer. So this is sort of that thing in multi-level marketing that makes people run scared. If the only thing you're ever talking about is photos or nutrition or makeup or whatever your lane is, if that's the only thing you're ever talking about to your friends, they're not going to want to hang out and talk to you. So you have to remember, you have to live your life as a person first. You have to have a relationship with people first, and this stuff gets weaved into that relationship. When you're, a female, when you're out to dinner with somebody and they say like, oh my gosh, I love your lipstick, then the first thing you're not going to say is, yes, young deputy, would you like to buy it? I have a catalog, and blah, 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 blah. You say, thank you. I wondered if this color was going to work for me, and they go, oh yeah, that color really does work for you. And then you pull it out of your purse and you say like, yeah, it actually works pretty well. And they go, oh, what kind is it? And you say longevity, and they go, oh, I've never heard of that. And then you say, well, it's a product, blah, 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 and it leads you into the conversation. So just remember that you have to have that connection with the person first, develop the relationship, and weave it into the conversation, not pounce on them the second they say something. And the same goes for the sports drinks. Even today, right now, I was at the doctor's office earlier, and I had my shaker bottle with my, I had body trim in it. And when I went in, and the nurse weighed me and said, like, wow, you look like you've dropped some weight. And I said, yeah, I had. I'm excited to see that, because I thought after Christmas I'd get on the scale and it would be pretty scary. And the conversation progressed, and she said, what are you doing? And I pulled out the shaker bottle, and I'm like, oh, I'm drinking this drink. And then it led to the conversation. So I just want to encourage you to remember that you have to have that relationship with people first, and then offer them the different products or opportunities. So there's a couple steps in developing this. Did I skip ahead? Hold on one sec. No. There's a couple steps in developing this core skill. And like we talked about, that very first one is to make that database or that contact list. And remember, when you're making it, not to prejudge. You just want to stick people on the list. You're not going to go, oh, she might say no. Oh, he would never do this. He's got a great job. Oh, no, that person's really happy with where they are. You are just putting people on the list. That's all you're doing, is you're adding people. And I made a spreadsheet last year that I still have out there that I probably need to adjust a little bit, but it's an Excel spreadsheet. That way you can print it out. But I categorize the people by some different product lines. So I would put them on the list and then put a checkbox if I know this is somebody that was one of my past scrapbooking customers, or if this is a new person that might be interested in essential oils or supplements or beauty. And one person might have one check mark or 3 check marks or whatever it is, but it just helps me to keep things organized so that when there's an event, like let's say right now this Friday when I have Lee and King coming in to do essential oils, I can look down that list of the people that I've talked to or are interested in oils, and those are the people that I can contact real quick, versus having to go through the whole list and try to remember which people want to do it. And the other thing that you can categorize further is people that have told you they're interested in the business, and people that are just interested in the product and have said, I don't want to hear about the business. That doesn't mean they never want to hear about it, but those aren't the people that you're going to, go inviting to every single business opportunity meeting or something. Now, I have hosts on here, even though we don't have host rewards anymore, and that isn't something, we're not having hosted events for people, I still want you to consider people that would host an event and invite their friends over, because that is a faster way to get to a group of people. If you have somebody that says, there's a group of us and we are really interested in essential oils, would you come out and talk to us about it? it doesn't have to be a party. It doesn't have to give somebody host rewards. You can obviously be grateful to them and give them a little something. You know, maybe you have some gift that you would like to pull together that you can give. We have lots of small things in longevity, but that's what I mean by a host. Somebody, like I used to call them in Creative Memories, like the ringleader of the group, the person that kind of gathers everybody together for a presentation. And it can be a healthy body presentation. Right now with the weight loss, that's a great opportunity when you talk to people and they say like, oh, I'm in a weight loss club. I have a bunch of people. We're all doing a weight loss challenge right now for the Biggest Loser. That's a popular one right now that everybody's, you know, trying to lose weight. And they have, you know, some amount of money they're all putting in and they're trying to be the Biggest Loser winner. So find that person that is in charge of the group, and they can host an event for you where you come over and you speak to everybody all at once. So again, just the host word doesn't mean that they're getting some sort of rewards for doing it. Their reward is that they're getting a presentation for a product line that they're actually interested in and they want to invite you over to do this. And then some of the, you know, the obvious things, the name, the email, the phone number, the contact list, and some next steps to take. So I am going to bring Andrea on the line now to talk about the memory joggers that we have. And on the bottom here, if you bought the CEO pack through Longevity, inside of the YGY training manual, it's a black booklet. There is a sheet of memory joggers in there that's pretty good. It's got like a bunch of different categories and names of people's names are just listed on there to try and give you ideas of, oh my gosh, yeah, there is somebody named Craig that I know, and it might just jog your memory. But we've used Frank and even George for a really long time. So Andrea, can you pop on the line and give them a little synopsis of what this means? Okay, awesome.
Well, I can see all of you in the attendee list, and I recognize all your names. So I know that you guys have been around the block a couple times with us, with Frank and George. But I want to tell you that it all still works. And I remember way back in Creative Memories days when this was introduced that we were kind of like, oh, yeah, whatever, another acronym to use to do things in our business. And we kind of poo-pooed it, and we didn't think it was that big of a deal. But then I had to train on it, and so I wanted to start doing it and teaching people how to use it, and so I needed to use it myself to be a good leader, right? Sometimes that's what works for me, is I need to like be a good leader, so I need to do some system, and then I realized that, well, I should have done it all along because it actually works. So there's Frank, and Frank is the one that I usually think of first if I want to make a list. And with Frank, it's just the acronym stands for friends, relatives, acquaintances, neighbors, and kids. And I think a lot of times we get stuck with just the F and the R. And of course the friends are people that you know, that you see out and about. And I really think what Anna said before about being careful when you talk to people, that you don't become this like annoying person that brings guilt upon people every time you're around them. I remember in Creative Memories days that whenever someone would pull out their camera or start taking pictures somewhere, they would look at me with like a guilty look in their face, like, oh, I know, you're probably going to tell me I need to do something different, you know, and they would just always assume that I was there to swoop over them and tell them something they needed to do with their photos. And, oh, I was the crafty one. I probably could tell them how to be crafty. Well, now I feel like in this business, yes, we can still be the photo person, but we cover a lot more areas, not only makeup and clothes and healthy living products, you know, so there's so many areas that we could become that person that, like, brings guilt. And especially since I know my husband and I have been doing a different way of eating, that we have to be careful that we don't bring up something that's wrong with what we think somebody else is eating that's with us. Like, oh, did you know it's in processed foods? You know, we don't want to be that kind of person. You're not going to be a friend. They're not going to stay on your friend list if you become that person that always brings stuff up that maybe makes them feel bad about what they're doing. And wait for those really natural times to talk to people. So, of course, you're friends. And even when we've been working on our contact list, you know, my husband will think of people that I don't think of. And sometimes I am that person that says, oh, they'll never do this. But I think I need to listen again when he brings it up, and probably go, all right, I need to not put all of the reasons why not, and realize that we haven't even asked. And I think a lot of times, especially with our friends, it becomes, and our relatives, like we are more afraid of them because we care about them, and we see them all the time, and they're important to us, and so it's a little bit scarier place to go at first. But, of course, we have to start with them. And it really only takes a few, because once you get to the first few friends, a lot of times those will end up being a way for you to connect to other people and get you beyond that first friend group. I know for me in my Creative Memories business, I liked my business a lot more when my customers became not my friends and not my relatives as the main group of people I worked with. But of course, that's where we have to start. So then there's the relatives. You can reach down as deep as you want, nieces, great nieces, third cousins, however you want to call them. But there's people out there that don't know what you're doing. And they're in your family, and if they're friends with yours on Facebook, a great place is to start putting things on Facebook and make that list. And look at people on Facebook that respond to things that you say. So keeping that list, that notebook that Anna talked about is really key. I didn't say that at the beginning. Whether for you it's an electronic list, I think the pen and paper one is probably the better way to go. I'm a big electronic person. I love writing everything down and having it all synchronized between my Apple products. But it makes it really hard to use on the fly. And adding all those little notes and the highlights and the colors like Anna was talking about would probably be a really good way to keep track of who you've talked to or who mentioned something, and leaving those spaces between the names so that you can expand on the information that you include as that relationship is ongoing. Acquaintances. I spent some more time thinking today about who are acquaintances. Acquaintances are people that we run into here and there. We don't really know a lot about them, but we smile at them. Oh, hi, how you doing? Maybe we run into them at Target. I think about like the people that own the coffee shop next to our store and the different baristas that work there. You know, they all know who I am. I don't know all of their names, but they're acquaintances. So those are people that I see. Maybe you buy bread every week from a bread store, and those are people that you see. Maybe there are other parents and people you see as you're walking through different events with your family, and you see out and about at church or at other clubs. Exercise. I have some people that I see where I go to this boot camp class, and they're there, and hi, how you doing? I'm going to die. Those are the kind of conversations we have. But those are the people you could add to the list that maybe you end up going out for coffee with them, like after that place that you run into them with. So acquaintances are could be anyone, because anyone could be an acquaintance besides a stranger, but someone that you see a lot, hear it about as your life runs its normal circle. The next one is N, and it's for neighbors, and it all kind of depends on where you live and the kind of neighbors you have. If you live in a more rural area, then you might not interact very much at all with your neighbors. But if you live in a neighborhood that has a bus stop at it and your kids go to that bus stop, and different activities where the kids play out in the street and stuff in the summertime more than winter here in Michigan, then those are the people that you connect with. I have a few neighbors that, they're the kind of people that are calling like, hey, do you have any butter? Do you have some cumin? I'm making something. And we're always breaking into each other's houses and getting stuff out because we have that kind of relationship with our neighbors. And those are people probably that don't know, for me, anything about what I'm doing. I haven't put them on my list, and I need to. And I need to have a conversation with the people that are nearby that I wave to as we get the mail. And then lastly is kids. Kids are people that you know with kids, people that your kids are connected to. I used to interact with a lot more mommies with kids when I had my kids in preschool and elementary school and all those different grades, and soccer teams and swim teams and different sporting events. So I was around kids all the time and their moms, and the co-op preschool we were involved with. So I don't have as many kids in my circle now, and I'm looking at some of you guys on here. I don't know a couple of your age kids, but I know some of your ages-ish, and I would say that you don't have a lot of interaction with little kids anymore. But some of my friends' kids are having kids, and I've even gotten involved with, me personally, working with a mom's group at our church as a mentor mom, which means I'm old and supposedly know something that they don't know. And so I'm there with these other mommies that have little kids. And so it's giving me a chance to develop a relationship with a group of people that I normally wouldn't have a connection to. And now my kids have kids myself, so I have grandkids. So sometimes it's their friends as I'm talking to my daughters about things, and then it's like, oh, that sounds like she would enjoy the oils, because I've been talking to the daughters about the oils. So I'm adding some of those people to my list because they're kids, my kids' kids with kids. And so you can see how that frank list can really expound and expand a lot as your life circumstances change. And maybe, just maybe, if you were with Creative Memories, you have some hidden place that your old frank list is. Because if you do, that would still work. Because this is not only the same thing, but we have a lot of added extras that could be added into what those other Frank list people would be interested in. And also, of course, because we have so many extras, that's why a new Frank list is important. And I think the biggest part of this is to keep it a living, breathing document. It's not something that you do the day that you sign up, the day that you decide to think about this as a business, and you just make it and you're like, wow, got some names on there. You might get busy with, let's say, 5 or 6 people off your Frank list. And all of a sudden, you kind of get busy, and you're going forward, and you're going forward, and you're not looking at the list anymore. But it's still there. You haven't used up all those people, all those names, all of those contacts. So keep going back to it and keep accessing it and changing it and updating it so that it can be a useful tool, because just like all businesses have lows in their business, because we own a Verizon store, and this is a slow month typically, and so we know that we have to use different sales tools and skills in our store in order to keep the door swings happening, is what we call it. So when there's a lull in your personal business with longevity, you need to have a place to go back to so that you can pull something out and help you go back and develop your business again and make something happen again, because you're going to forget those people that you put on the list. You really are. So keep putting people on it, adding, updating, moving things around, and deciding, you know, maybe a big black marker through, like, this person never wants to talk to me again, I just terrified them, or whatever. You know, so you just keep it updated. And then the George part is when you kind of want to get beyond. This is kind of a business almost list to me. It's more like, instead of people we just kind of know personally, this is more like business associations. So groups, what groups are you involved in? For our store, we're part of the Lansing Chamber of Commerce. I'm in a BNI group. Maybe you're in a Bible study group. Maybe you're in a mom's group or a knitting club, or you're in a book club. Those are all groups that you're a part of. The E is for entrepreneurs, people that you know that are entrepreneurial. Who do you know that has a home-based business already? Maybe they sell, I don't know, like those, I can't think of that company where they sell like little food seasoning packs. Tastefully Simple, I think, or something like that. Or there's still Pampered Chef people, or are there? Maybe there aren't. Do Pampered Chef go to?
No, I think there are. I think they're still around.
Okay. But things like that, people that are doing direct sales that have different appeal than we do, that wouldn't be necessarily a conflict. So that's an entrepreneurial person. Yeah.
I just want to interject really quick on how important I think this one is for the direct sales right now, because so many companies are going out of business. Like Leah Sophia and Jockey from Home are two that just announced this month that they were going out of business. So if you have this list of friends of yours that you know were in different direct sales, even if it's not something right now, that'll be something that you can come back to, because right now I think a lot of them are, you know, reinventing themselves or not going to be around for a while. So those are people that are displaced, and if you have them on your list, it'll be a nice little memory jogger.
That's good to know, yes, because people that have already done direct sales, worked from home, know the power in direct sales. They want to keep doing direct sales. They don't want to go and work for the man. They don't want to go and work by the hour out in industry. So they already have their contact list. They already have their circle of influence, and so they're looking for another company that works. And when you share some of the statistics with an entrepreneurial person about the success rate that longevity has, the growth rate, one of the numbers I remembered from the New Year's Eve, I think the New Year's Eve call, was they're adding 10,000 new customers a month. That's crazy. Like, I don't know what other company in direct sales is adding 10,000 new customers a month. I can't even imagine anybody doing that. So just talking about the success rate, the no debt, all the different things that we have in longevity, a lot of companies don't have that same story. And I know that was appealing to me when I started hearing about longevity as a heritage maker person. Organizations are any kind of organization. So it could be like a MOPS group that you could go and speak at and talk about whatever lane you're in, whether you still want to focus on mainly on family photos and celebrating pictures and making products with memorable photos. You know, you can still go and speak to groups on that. So different organizations that have speakers come in, or different places that you're connected to in that way. And then lastly, our executives, people that are in business, that are working, running companies, and that are influential people. And they might not be a person that necessarily wants to become a distributor with longevity, or even are interested in making extra money, because maybe they are doing well financially, but they are a person that knows people. And so a lot of times when you're connecting with someone, I think it's important to not just say, hey, is this something you're interested in? Like, that's the simplified version of it. But then, well, if you aren't interested, do you know somebody who might be? Because I'm sure you know a ton of people. And some people are comfortable with giving out a name and other people aren't. So it can't hurt to ask as you are communicating with any one of these Frank or George groups of people. So just keep asking and expanding your list. That's all I got.
One other thing on the executives that I just want to throw out there is that from the Heritage Maker side, we have quite a few people right now on our team that work with, and they don't have to be executives of like multi-million-dollar companies. You know, they can be executives of a small business that, you know, has 40 employees, but they can make their holiday cards through Heritage Maker. So we had in the past several people that have done that where they decided to use Heritage Makers to send their holiday cards out to all of their customers. So that's something that you can offer to executives, or the metal prints could be something that they give to people on their anniversaries. You know, when I worked at Chrysler and our 5-year, 10-year, we got like a pen and a plaque and a couple different things, you know, as our anniversary gifts. Well, some of the smaller companies might not, you know, might not be able to give you an expensive pen. Isn't that funny that pens can be that expensive and so fancy? But, you know, they could do a metal print, or you know, there's other different types of gifts that you could give. So when you do talk to executives, just keep in mind that it doesn't have to be like you're going to talk to the, you know, the president of General Motors or something. It could be your local store, you know, down the street that has 40 or 50 people that work for them. Sorry, Andrea, I didn't mean to cut you off. I don't know if you have anything else that you want to say. That just popped in my head.
That's all I got. So that was a good wrap up. Nope, you're good.
Okay. All right. Perfect. Well, thank you so much for that. That was an awesome, really, really detailed piece on Frank and George, and I hope you guys all took notes on that. And again, this is recorded so that you can share it with your team members as they come on board. So just a couple more slides to wrap up here. So once, and this is perfect leading into what she just said at the end of your thing where you said just remember that it doesn't have to be really well connected to a bunch of other people. And that's a great way to grow your list. So there's a couple of different ways that you can do that. One of them is that indirect approach, like Andrea just said, like who do you know that? And so for example, you know, you might talk to somebody on your list, like maybe it is your neighbor that you need to borrow sugar from, and maybe you've already talked to her about maybe health and nutrition or weight loss or something, but now, you know, you're getting into the MK collab, you're looking into the fashion. So you could say, hey, who do you know that's really into fashion? I don't have a lot of people that I know in my circle of friends that are into this, but I know that you do this or that, and that you have a circle of friends that really are interested in clothes and jewelry. So is there anybody that you know that might be somebody I could talk to? Or another indirect approach is, this business clearly is not for you. You told me that, and I'm not trying to, you know, go against anything you said, but if you do know anybody that is looking to make a little extra money, if you do know anybody that is really interested in helping people lose weight, if you know somebody who's really into teaching people about the health benefits of proper nutrition or any of that, so saying that to that referral. Or I'm expanding in your area and I'm looking for somebody that has experience in. So in the last year, I'm clearly not somebody who knows very much about health and nutrition, so it is not a far stretch at all for me to say to people that I don't have a lot of experience in this area, so I would love your professional opinion on XYZ. So I just used that actually today with one of my, when I was at the doctor's office, there was a different physician's assistant, and I invited her to come to the digital weekend. And I said, you know, I'd love your professional opinion on some of these products because I don't have experience. Even I've been taking them for a year, and I absolutely believe that they are working for me and they're working for a lot of people. But I would love to have a trusted person that is in that profession to give me their opinion on the product. So those are all indirect approaches to talking to people. Some direct approaches that you can use with people are, you know, like, you can say, if you share my website on your Facebook profile, I'll, you know, be happy to throw you into a drawing for a product, you know, just ways to entice them to share. Or you can sometimes just ask people to do that just because they're your friends, to say, hey, would you do me a favor and promote my business and share my website out on your Facebook profile? I do that for people all the time. You know, if somebody did a good service for me, or if there's somebody that I know I trusted something, maybe a different business, and they started a business, why wouldn't you say, hey, just do a little shout out to my friend who just became a CPA. If you guys need your taxes done, go here. And, I see people post that constantly, so don't be afraid to ask your friends and family to, give you a little boost on Facebook to just get your name out there to people. It's a nice way to get a referral. Um, and also, just doing the same thing that we've done for years, bring a new potential person to an event and, again, you can do a drawing, or I actually hate doing drawings and raffles for that kind of stuff, so I'm not encouraging you to do that, but it is an idea. Really, I think if people want to do that for you, they're going to do it, whether you entice them with some tchotchke gift or not. So it's up to you if you want to do that, if that's something that you really enjoy doing. You can for fun soccer team by using this drink. So why don't you try and get a couple of the soccer moms to come with you or the soccer dads to come with you? So, just asking people to bring people with them is a nice way too. And then, so now we've talked about how you would make the list yourself, how you would find referrals, and then this is something that I didn't realize how important this was until the last year. And you staying in touch with people and finding creative ways to stay in touch with people over time is an incredible skill to develop. And it's one it's hard. You have to work at this because we're busy, and it's really, really not easy to stay in touch with a million people that you've met over time. But it serves you so well in this business if you can stay in touch with people. And tools like Facebook and text, and Instagram make it a little bit easier, but it is a little bit impersonal too. So just posting things on Facebook doesn't really mean that you're in touch with people, or just seeing some of these pictures doesn't mean that you're really in touch with them. You might know what they're doing, or they might know what you're doing, but you really have to reach out in a different way. You have to remember, this goes back to what we said in the beginning, you don't want to call people only when you want to offer them something business related. You have to take the time to really know people and to, maybe call somebody up because a new movie came out and you know that they're really interested in, I don't know, maybe it's the Hunger Games or something, that you're like, wow, I saw that and I thought of you, and I wondered if you might want to go to the movies with me because I knew it was something that you really liked. Or a new book comes out and you're like, or a new TV show, and oh my gosh, I thought of you, and I'm wondering, let's read this book together. Or something that's unrelated to the business, to stay in touch with the people so that when the business does get brought into the conversation, they don't look at you like, oh, that's the only time you ever talk to me is when you want to sell me something. So really important to, to have triggers for the people that are things that are unrelated to the products that you're telling them about, so that you really can have a relationship with them. The other thing is, and this is what we were just talking about, in developing those connections, looking for things that they enjoy, but remembering their kids and how many they have, if they're married or single, if they have any pets. People just really, really, really appreciate you listening and knowing about them and their families and their lives. And when you can say, oh my gosh, I completely remember you coming over when your son seemed like he was a baby, and now he's graduating from high school. I can hardly believe it. Having conversations like that where they know that you have a connection there and that you remember those things about them. And finding things in common that you can link those in your mind to make it a little easier on yourself. Like I said, if you have kids that are the same age, grandkids that are the same age, if you run together and you have, a love maybe for running marathons, or if you like to knit and you have that's your thing that you do together. If it's weightlifting, or it could be something, like I said, it could be books or movies or anything that you have that connection with. Just finding those common links and being able to call that person or text them, they really have your common interest with you. And then you want to nourish that relationship. Like I'm just everything we've been talking about, sharing an article that relates to a hobby that they have that you saw, thinking of you, check this out. Calling them when you see that there's a sale at a store that they love. That's something that a lot of us, when I was younger, I used to do this a lot more. I shouldn't say when I was younger, when my kids were younger, I used to do this a lot more, when there would be a sale at a Baby Gap or something. And I would be, send out a message, an email to 12 of my mommy girlfriends and say oh my gosh, Baby Gap's got this on sale, head over there. Or, now sometimes there's Groupons or something. If you can send that and say, thought of you, know you love this. Maybe it's a weekend trip up north or something, and that there's a different hotel that has a special or something. But just knowing the people that you're talking to, those types of things are invaluable. Sending them a card on their birthday, that's huge. Just for no reason. Well, it's their birthday, but, people don't get cards anymore. People get a lot of Facebook posts that say happy birthday. People get a lot of, texts and stuff, but to actually physically mail them a card on their birthday, I don't think very many people do that anymore. So just in general, being a friend, that is so key to our business and so important that you want to build relationships. And I keep saying that over and over and over again because it's such a core skill of building relationships and knowing people and being more than just that person that calls them because they want you to buy something. Okay, so last slide, and this one is networking on purpose. So you have to get out of your house and get involved, right? None of these lists are going to get done if you're just sitting at home all day long. So you have to be able to find reasons to connect with people, join clubs, take a class, go to an event where you're going to meet people. You know, maybe it's Bible study, or maybe it's a book club or a garden club, or maybe like Andrea talked about, you have another business and you're in the Chamber of Commerce or the B&I, or maybe it's just that you want to go out and I thought about doing this, just taking a class at the community college on something that I'm interested in, not because I want a degree, but just because it's fun to learn about things that aren't related to business and work. Maybe you take a class on fashion or take a class on photography or just something that's fun and it's for you. I thought about taking cooking classes, and meeting other people that are interested in the same things as you and connecting people together where they can help each other. This is really, really important, and they'll remember it for you and they will trust you. So I try to do this very, very often where somebody is talking to me about something and it triggers somebody else that has a business that isn't related to mine but that could help that person, and connecting them together and saying, oh my gosh, you're looking for a plumber? I have a great plumber. Let me connect you guys. Or, something like that where you're connecting them together because they'll definitely trust you and remember you more for it. And Kristen has a lot of wise words. For those of you that don't know who Kristen is, Kristen Goodman is my upline about marketing with the heart. And I took this slide from a presentation that she did months ago. I don't know if some of you guys remember that, but she is the master at all of this marketing with the heart and networking. I mean, she's unbelievably connected to people and has such a huge network. So, and we're going to have, I'm going to try and get Kristen on one of the calls to use some of her wise words about marketing from the heart because she's so great at that. So thank you guys for coming on today. I appreciate it. Like I said, this will be recorded, and you can use this to share with new people that join your team or people that just want to restart their business, because I think, getting that Frank list together and the George list together at the beginning of the year is always a good thing. Putting it in, like we talked about, a live notebook that you're using a pen and paper. I know in the electronic world it's a temptation to do that, but there's something about being able to highlight that, circle that, and know that you have those people written down and be able to flip through the pages to see how many you've added over the year. That really kind of empowers you. So I encourage you guys all to do that. And if there's any questions, I'm going to stop the recording and then I can unmute or answer questions. So thank you, and we'll see you next week.